Hey, hello. Welcome to episode number 61 of the People We Love podcast. I am Adam Choi. What's up? If you're new here, what I do is interview people from all walks of life, often comedians and other artists, about their lives and careers. It's casual conversation, but I also ask everyone to highlight someone they love, someone who they admire, who influenced them, inspired them, or supported them. For more, check out peoplewelovepodcast.com. That's peoplewelovepodcast.com. And the Instagram handle is People We Love Podcast. And you can find me on Instagram as well, Adam Choi, my name. And remember to tap subscribe or follow on whatever platform you listen to podcasts on. And of course, 5-star positive reviews on iTunes are greatly appreciated as well. So, today's guest is comedian, actor, musician, jack of all trades, Victor Treviño. Originally from Canyon Country, out in the desert outside LA, this always artsy, sometimes troublemaker kid recalls loving Saturday Night Live, nature, and being the class clown. Eventually, as a teen, Victor found a second family, the Belardinellis, and it wasn't too long before he discovered one of his new brothers would become his comedy brother. That's Demetri Belardinelli. These creative partners in crime certainly have a unique story and a unique style, so let's just get into this one and hear all about it from Victor himself. So without further ado, here's Victor Treviño. So it's good to see you today, Victor Treviño.
Thank you. It's good to see you, Adam. How you doing?
Man. I'm good. Thank you for dropping by the studio. I appreciate it.
Yeah, no problem, dude. I like this podcast a lot, so this is fun.
I appreciate the support. How's your day going?
It's going really, really well. I'm growing. I'm learning things, and I'm excited to talk.
What ways are you growing? Any noticeable, tangible ways you're growing, would you say?
Yeah, I think so. I'm trying to be more patient. I'm trying to learn that lesson again and again and again because I seem to forget it for some reason. And I've just been trying to listen more.
Do you feel yourself in moments being impatient? Do you feel, because I feel myself, I'm a little bit, I'm not being patient right now.
Yeah, I can feel it coming on when I'm getting tense. Usually I'll read it in my own body when I cross my arms or I do something and I'm okay, I need to calm down. And then I try to think of these exercises. And then my therapist gave me shout out Judy. You know what I'm saying? Shout out Judy.
Yeah, everyone mentions Judy.
Yeah, everyone that comes is a Judy.
Yeah, everyone's got a Judy therapist.
The theme of the podcast
might be the same one. No, I feel that in traffic. I feel in the car, even not in traffic, just driving around, and I'll start to get angry. I don't have road rage. I don't curse at people, but I feel a little bit inside me where I'm getting a little anxiety, getting angry at the car just for being in front of me.
Yes.
Just being a tall truck I can't see over, and I'm not even in a rush.
It's you feel trapped. That's
right?
How
yes.
I feel. I'm I couldn't get out of here if I needed to speed over or get off fast. I couldn't because there's just a wall of metal around me on every side. I'm kind of just stuck here, and you kind of realize in that moment maybe that's it's a nightmare. It's I'm like a cog in the machine of the highway of society right now. Why can't I? Why don't I have more control over this situation?
You have to breathe. That's what I try to do is breathe. Yeah. But you know what I also do, which I don't think is a good idea, and no one should do this. Close your eyes for a second.
Yeah, well,
in the car.
If you're in bumper to bumper in LA, it's a whole different level. Sometimes you won't move for 10 seconds when you're in bumper to bumper. So you can close your eyes. I feel for. Someone will give you a friendly honk. It's not like you're going anywhere at that point.
Yeah. Wake me up when it starts moving.
I think I read a thing that had the list of the cities that were hardest to drive in or learn to drive in, and LA was in the world was in the top 5. And I was that's insane.
I believe it. I mean I've seen some, I don't know if it's like this everywhere in India, but I have watched some of the YouTube content of people driving in India, which is just, do whatever you want.
Yeah, it's they're abiding by a system, but it's probably not written down in a rule book in most of the places where people are driving. Yeah, at least something that's not made as publicly accessible.
For real. Well, why don't we get into your life?
Yeah, dude, let's talk about it.
Yeah, we can start from the beginning when you were born and the drive home from the hospital, and tell me what that was like if you remember it.
In the back of a truck in a strawberry field.
Is that true?
No, God, I wish it was. Wouldn't that be romantic? No, I was born in a hospital in California, in Southern California, right here. I'm from the desert. I'm from Canyon Country. It's a little place up the 14 freeway. It's over by Palmdale, Agua Dulce, if you know that area. Technically, it's part of Santa Clarita where Six Flags is, so that's how I tell people where it is. But Six Flags is by Valencia, and I'm from the other end. Canyon Country is kind of like a cyst on the city of Santa Clarita. We're like the tiny little desert pocket that people are like, we don't talk about.
It's a benign,
we don't talk
harmless
about
cyst.
that part.
It's a harmless cyst.
Yeah, we're a peaceful cyst.
But it sounds sort of unsightly.
Well, yeah, I think to some people in Valencia, I can remember when I would we'd go to high school competition or like inter-district things of like improv or whatever after school sometimes, and the kids from the other schools would make fun of us and be like, your school is the poor school. And we're like, that's terrible. Like, why would you tell somebody that? It was funny at the time, but now looking back, I'm like, oh, sorry, just kicked this.
No, you good?
But looking back, I'm like, oh my God, that's kind of hard. That makes me feel hardened. And I'm like, yeah, that's cool. I'm from the desert. I like that. I enjoyed nature. That was like a big part of growing up there. It was the wash was like, the riverbed, the Santa Clara riverbed was supposed to be a river, but it's just this desert strip that people ride quads in and like use firecrackers in.
Because there's no water in it.
Yeah, it's just like, and you could get away. It's miles and miles of just endless desert, and you can get away with going in there and just like spray painting or breaking bottles or with BB guns or like, it was like a no man's land for like little lost boys. It was like Mad Max with like preteens just riding bicycles and quads around and just being lawless. It was fun.
I feel like you just explained a lot, but maybe we'll go back a little bit. What about like early memories of like 3, 4, 5 years old? Is that kind of what you remember already? Is like just kind of being out in
my
nature?
childhood. Let's go. Okay, I see what you're doing. Yeah, let's do the whole thing. I was born into a very well-educated Mexican American and indigenous and Spanish family in Canyon Country. My mom is a flamenco dancer and a teacher and a guitarist, and she was a singer in a mariachi band. So I grew up in a house with a lot of music and dancing and stuff and art. And my dad was an English teacher and kind of a writer and like sort of like Renaissance guy. Like he could also use tools and just like, he's just kind of an enigma, my dad. He's like totally silent, but he just like does everything. Somehow he's had every job and done everything and he's good at stuff. So I grew up in Canyon Country in this family. I had a sister and another half sister, and I was super into the arts and stuff right away. And I wanted to be a comedian from the time I was like, I'd say honestly like 2 or 3.
You remember that?
Well, there was videos. Yeah, I kind of do remember. I remember asking when I was like 3 for a rubber chicken because I thought that's what comedians needed. Like somehow I saw something on TV and was like, oh, that clown has a rubber chicken. Obviously, I got to have a rubber chicken or I'm not going to be a real comedian. So I somehow asked for one. And they got it for me for Christmas, I think, like when I was about to turn 4 or had just turned 4, and I like cried because I was so happy. I don't know what, I'm trying to figure out what I saw that on that I wanted it. But anyway.
The clown, you said. So a clown was like the first
something.
comedian. Was a clown your first comedic influence, I guess, maybe?
Maybe. I remember there's a video of me at like 3 or maybe 4, and they asked what I want to be when I grow up, and I say SNL. So
yo, SNL.
Yeah, not even
show.
Comedian. Yeah, it was just like SNL. Like that's what I want to be. I want to be on that show. I knew at that age, and now I don't. I don't want to say I don't want to be because I love SNL. I love the history, and so many great influences and great comedians have all passed through there and made classic stuff. But it's so different now. I don't even know if they take someone like me. They took a lot of really interesting character guys and comedians, niche guys in like the 70s and 80s. They had Kaufman, they had John Lovitz and Phil Hartman and a lot of guys like that I think I'm similar to.
Almost like performance artists.
Exactly. They're performance artists that can do different accents and juggle different roles and do these weird, they commit in these strangest ways. Norm Macdonald, even, he was kind of the end, I think, of like...
You're naming all the people who got fired.
Yeah, there you go.
Or quit.
They do have Kyle Mooney now, who I think him and Beck Bennett and some of those guys from Good Neighbor stuff, they're brilliant when they do their own thing. And on some of the what is that segment? What do they call that? Anyway, they have Kyle Mooney and Beck Bennett have a segment on SNL that's pretty good. But I haven't watched the show actively in a long time. Maybe I should check it out.
But you watched it growing up, it sounds like.
My dad was obsessed with it. My dad had books of quotes, and he had like posters and stuff in his classroom. And my dad also taught a comedy and satire class, which is funny because he is truly silent and never jokes. And he taught a class on comedy, and then I ended up being a comedian. It's really weird.
Do you know about the class? How old were you when he taught this class?
I was like 3 or 2.
Oh, okay. So do you know anything about the contents of the class and what he taught?
No. He
Did he
only
ever talk about it?
Not really. He would tell me who he covered. Like, I know he covered the silent era. He covered like Buster Keaton and Laurel and Hardy. And I know he went up through like some of the SNL people through the 90s and stuff. I don't know if he was like a big fan of SNL after like the 2000s or during the 2000s, really. My dad kind of became like this really bitter, like old man towards the end of his career. But now he's happy again because he retired. So bless him. I'm so happy for him.
What era? I mean, obviously, I kind of know your age, so I can guess. I know what was on. The current SNL at the time you were kind of growing up or whatever. But what, were you watching different eras? Were you watching because there was reruns on Comedy Central?
Yeah, I watched
DVDs.
It all. Yeah, my dad had a VHS collection of like a lot of them, and we also I think got a DVD player at some point. And I started ordering like the best of Will Ferrell and the best of Chris Farley because I was like, who are these guys? Like I'm seeing these things and I think they're so funny. And we didn't have a computer in my house, and we didn't have I didn't have a phone until I was 18, and we didn't have a computer until I was like out of the house. So my sort of, I grew up in a really Catholic kind of strict house in terms of what came through the house and what I saw. So I kind of had to like fight for it. But my biggest inspirations from like when I was watching the current stuff were like, or of a near era to when I was little would be like Adam Sandler was a big one for me too. Yeah, Chris Farley, all the classic guys. Sure. I actually really loved Mike Myers, and I know that he kind of had a career bomb because he's made some insensitive stuff, and he's also,
Is that what happened to him? Is that
maybe
he's been blackballed, or he's just not a moneymaker anymore?
No. I think also he just doesn't want to do. Like I feel like anything he wants to do, he could do. Like he was in Inglourious Bastards. He had like a bit role in that. He was in the Queen movie. They called him up, and he was like, "Yeah, I'll be in that." Like, I feel like he can be in anything he wants, but I think he also knows that the reception to his stuff has kind of wilted a little bit. And I don't think that's his fault. I just think, art changes and the world changes and audiences change. And sometimes guys' styles are dated. And I feel like maybe his is great, but him and Dana Carvey and a lot of those guys, they're like a very specific
Maybe he was like oversaturated. Maybe there was too much Mike Myers for a time. But some guys I guess they never get older, or like Tom Hanks. I mean, obviously that's more. I mean, that Mike Myers is not a good actor, but like Tom Hanks is on I guess a different level.
Yeah, he's
and seen as a different type of actor, and even like Robin Williams too, is the same kind of guy who was able to be a superstar in every decade, basically.
Yeah, but Robin Williams was truly like a universal, like one of a kind talent. That guy was just like touched. He was just like a blowtorch of comedy that was on 24/7, dude.
Yeah.
I was watching some stuff of him the other day and was just like, no, I don't know if I've ever seen anyone on this guy's level of like speed of thought in comedy.
And it's not just the cocaine, it's
right. I mean, that's like the rocket fuel he also adds to it, which is why he's just like insane and
it's
sweaty.
Barry Bonds on steroids.
Right. Yeah, exactly. It's the guy who doesn't need steroids taking steroids and just getting jacked. Yeah.
Right.
There's some legendary stories about Robin Williams live comedy. I wish I'd been able to see him live. But yeah.
What about when you were presumably in elementary school and a kid? Were you a good student? What kind of student were you? What was school life like?
I went to so first I went to a preschool that was Catholic, and my mom was really proud of that because she went to Catholic school from preschool all the way through college. She always talks about that, getting her credentials and stuff. She's a very faithful woman. And so they realized like that wasn't going to work because I was just really weird. I was an odd kid.
Even at such a young age, they could tell.
I was so just not normal. The stories my parents will tell about like there was a time I was eating one time before I could talk, and a waitress was like, "Oh, I think he's done with his food," because I was asleep on it, and she tried to move my plate, and I growled at her and like slapped her hand, and everybody was like, "Whoa! Like, where did you learn to do that?" I was just a weird, expressive, reactive, like emotional child. So the nuns and the priests were like, "Get this kid the hell out of here! Like, he's disruptive. We don't know what to do with him." So I went to the elementary school where my mom taught for kindergarten through 6th grade. So that was amazing because anytime I was really stressed out or freaked out, I could like go to her classroom. I was really lucky because I was a sensitive kid, so I was in there a lot.
While she had classes going on?
No, I definitely, although one time I did get in trouble and my teacher sent me to her room instead of the principal's office, and that was like the ultimate punishment. I don't know how.
Because you were in trouble.
Nobody else ever thought to do that. I'm thankful.
They skipped the middleman.
Man, it was so tough. Yeah. So I went to elementary school in the desert, and that was crazy because it's like 1,000 degrees and there's no plants. It's all blacktop and just like sand.
Wow.
Yeah. In school, I would always excel like through the roof at anything that was like arts and literature and history, but then anything that was science and math, I would just bomb.
Yeah, it seems like everyone who's sat in that seat,
Right.
for the most part.
Yeah, it's just a different part of the brain, I think. You know what I mean? Like I don't know, problem solving with numerical characters are like a literal different language. Every time I look at them to think how to do math, I process so slowly. People ask me if I'm joking. Like when I look at receipts and stuff, and I'm like, okay.
I think once math they were starting to teach things that were not like practical things that I knew I was going to use. Okay, percentages and fractions and division and some basic geometry and
Yeah.
you know. Okay, I'm dad had to tell time and measure weights. Okay, I'm good. I'm math. I'm good with all, I guess that might be science, but yeah, I'm good with that stuff. But once you start getting into like trigonometry and all these formulas, and I'm out.
Yeah, when am I gonna? I am not gonna need that. At least, I don't know. Maybe I would, but not saying it doesn't help. Just that I am a stand-up comedian. I don't know if I need to know trigonometry. I remember in senior year of high school, my math that I had to pass was algebra basics, and it was the 9th grade math class, and my tutor was a 9th grade girl. And I was so like sad. I was like, this underclassman is so much better at math than me. Now looking back, I'm thankful because she helped me pass the class.
Yeah.
But I was just so embarrassed at the time because I was a teenager. But yeah, interesting. So that was elementary school. I went to a school called Sulphur Springs Elementary. They banned Harry Potter in the library because it was like black magic. Go figure.
That's pretty intense.
Yeah, oh yeah, for sure. This place is like, it's the desert. It's LA County, but it's the very tip. And
It's
it used to be all farms.
Public school, you said?
Yes, but it functions like a private school because it's in the part of Santa Clarita Canyon Country that a lot of people consider like the lower class part one of, but it's in a pocket of that is the very wealthy area of Canyon Country. And my mom made sure that she would take me to her work, that school, which passed like 2 other elementary schools I should have gone to.
Yeah.
But she was like, no, you're not going to go to those because we can go to this nicer one over here with the other, like the kids they're from wealthier homes and they're, she wanted me to be around multicultural people too. Like she didn't, some of the other schools were not as multicultural. So she made sure that she put me in a good school, the best she could for elementary in our city pretty much. And that made me feel really good. My mom's a good mom. Shout out. Shout out Mary Frances. I actually just saw her. We went and had Mexican food. It was good right before I came here.
You say that like you ran into her, like you were.
I kind of did.
I see.
We don't talk much. We don't.
It was a little spontaneous.
Yeah, my dad hit me up and was like, "We should see each other. We should eat," because I don't see them much really. I work full time, and I'm also trying to do the full time comedy thing on the side.
And they still live in Canyon Country.
Yeah, way
which
up
is
there.
not super far, but
if you work.
You're
9
busy man.
hours. Yeah. You work 9 hours and you get off and then you edit for 2 hours. Then you're like, I got to be up again in 7 hours.
Yeah, you're not going to see them during the week as rarely. And then on the weekends, I'm sure you have a life and projects and other things going on. And it's hard to, why do you hate your parents?
Yeah. No, I don't. I definitely don't hate my parents. I appreciate them, but I should go up. I should go up more. I have a cat up there. I have a 13-year-old cat. Excuse me, 14-year-old cat. Maggie, she's super ancient and she sounds like she's been smoking a pack a day, like a Detroit.
I love old cats.
I don't know. Yeah.
I like old dogs and old cats. That look like they've like seen a lot and been through a lot. They don't really care. They're not afraid of anything.
She's kind of like if Tommy Lee Jones were a cat.
Yeah.
She's just like leather. You know what I mean? Like you've seen stuff.
Oh, I was thinking of Tommy Lee, the drummer from Motley Crue. For some reason, at first, I'm like, cat with tattoos, the rock star. I'm like, that's a cool cat.
Yeah. No. Oh, man.
What about comedy, like growing up? And your relationship with your brothers? Were you get to have like a joking relationship? Did you pick on each other? Did you watch comedy together? SNL together?
I would always win, and so would Demetri. I'm in a comedy duo with my brother Demetri, and I'll get to how we kind of started that in a bit, but growing up, he would always win class clown in every grade and the superlative class clown in every grade all the way through like high school. And so did I. And I'm a couple years older than him. I'm like 6 years older than him, I think. and we went to all the same schools. So we were slowly accidentally building this resume of being set up to be comedians and comedy partners without even knowing it, because we were just messing around in school way too much and like pulling pranks. I mean, like it got to a point after like fourth grade, I came to my parents and told them like, I don't want to go to school anymore. This is not for me. Like, I want to drop out. I'm good.
And what were you going to do in fourth grade?
I was like, put me in an art program, or like, give me some paints, or like let me make you something that we can like sell. I was ready to I'm ready to be an artist. And they were like, you are out of your mind. Like, you're going to go to fifth grade because you're 8. Like, they were so mad. They were both teachers and from like very strict households. So they're like, no, you're going to do this. You're going to college. You're going to be whatever you want to be, probably a teacher. So,
but did they encourage your artistic passions?
Yeah, kind of. My dad wanted me to be an athlete because he was like a great athlete, and his brother was a great athlete, and all his brother's kids are great athletes. So he like wanted me to play sports, but I think very early on he realized like I'm into art, and he was kind of like, oh, okay. And he was supportive, but he wasn't like encouraging. You know what I mean? I
didn't understand it fully. But
yeah,
your mom must have.
Yeah, my mom was really into it. You know, my dad had my back. He would like take me places if I had a show or something. He'd drop me off, but I don't know. He and I never connected on that level until much later. And now I feel like he's really supportive. It's great. He's grown a lot.
It's cool. So you wanted to become like a painter or something? You didn't even
I just
know.
wanted to do it all. Yeah. I still paint. I write poetry. I do comedy. I make music. I try to do it all because it's all part of the same thing to me. It's just expression of who you are.
Yeah.
The art is just the outlet, but you can plug into different avenues. Like, you have a guitar right there. You're a musician, you know?
Something like that.
You get it.
I'll take it. I'll take that.
Yeah, you're doing multiple. And you said these are your grandfather's paintings.
Yeah.
There you go. Look, I bet you could do that too. You're probably a good graphic artist.
Maybe. I could take a picture of the painting and paint.
There you go. Yeah.
Put that up.
But so I was building a reputation for pulling all these pranks, and I mean, it was like everything from like faking throwing up to like I had blood capsules and would fake like hit my face into a wall and like bite a blood capsule.
And who were you pranking? The other kids, the teachers,
the teachers, everybody.
Too.
I remember one time the teacher was like, "What are you guys doing over the weekend?" to like engage with her students. This math teacher, and everybody's telling her. And I was like, how are you going to go home without your keys? And she like didn't have her keys. I had them. I had stolen them halfway through the period. I also stole the American flag.
But you were going to give this all back, it sounds, or no?
I wasn't going to. I was a really bad kid.
Wait a minute. This is not a prank.
Well, that's the thing, is it turned from like pranks into like, I was just like a bad manipulative preteen teen kid because things were not going so hot at home. And because my parents were really strict, and I was like, I want to be this wild performance artist, Andy Kaufman guy. And they were like, calm down at church. You know what I mean?
You were where were you in age relation to your brothers? You were older?
I'm older. I haven't met them at this point, actually. I met them because their family took me in. I met them when I was like 15, 16.
Gotcha. That's right.
So at this point, I am, let's see, what era we're in. We're coming up through like, I guess we're in high school now, like early high school, which is I'm about to meet them. And then I meet the oldest one. I meet my oldest brother for the first time, before I called him my brother, obviously, Dylan Belardinelli, who is 2 years younger than me. And he was in Canyon High School Theater, and so was I. And he auditioned for the improv team, and I was a captain. And I saw him, and I remember the exercise was me being like, all right, we're going to like yell different things, and we just want you to imitate them to see who could commit to stuff, or who could pantomime really well, or who had sharp, like, you know, who could make a choice really fast. So we just started saying things, and I say dog, and he literally like throws himself onto all fours and sticks his tongue out and starts just like shaking his head and barking. And people around him are like startled by how hard he committed. It's like as if there was a real dog in the room. They're like, whoa, shit. Like,
he became a dog.
Yeah, everyone was like, whoa, where'd that dog come from for a second? And it was Dylan. And I was like, all right, cool. And immediately turned to my co-captain and was like, that guy has to be on the team. I was like, that guy is so good. Just from seeing him do a dog impression once. So that's how talented Dylan Belardinelli is already. And then like that week, or maybe it was a little before, I can't remember if I had like just met him, but he invited me to his house for dinner. I didn't know this was because Dylan, at the time, Dylan didn't have very many friends. Now he's so busy. He has so many friends, but he was kind of awkward in high school too, in his own way. And he invited me over for dinner. And at first I was like insulted because I thought like, he thought I looked like I needed to eat or something.
So you explain this of the family situation to me. So you were adopted by a family when I
was like 15, 16, almost 16.
And where did you live before then?
with my family.
With your family. And this was the
Treviños.
The Treviños.
Who are still my family, yeah.
Still your family.
still have
And this
two
was
families.
the dad who was the teacher and the mom who was the dancer.
Yes.
And then you were adopted by this other family.
In high school, I was not doing so hot. I was a teen drug addict and alcoholic, and I was sort of in a rough crowd of guys, pretty much a gang, like a posse of these punk kids, and we would do things that, kids do in the desert.
Yeah.
And it was rough for a while there. Bless them. Bless all of them, my old homies. I hope they're well. I've seen a couple of them, and they've been well, so that's good. But I was at some point like, I gotta transfer out of this. Like, I'm not gonna last in this lifestyle. So I met Dill, and he invited me over, and I went to his house, and there was dinner on this big table, and there was community of like 12 relatives, aunts and uncles and cousins, and everybody eating dinner and eating this cultural food they had made and brought over, and everybody's complimenting each other and asking how their families are and their, extended people. And it's really involved and warm. And I had at that point, I had not really seen a lot of that in my life, to be honest. So it kind of blew me away. And I was like, this is where I want to be. I want to get close to these people. And so I asked Dylan if I could spend the night, and he was like, yeah, of course. Cause they were just such an open family. And I crashed there, and then I just didn't leave for 2 weeks. And then their mom came up to me one day after school and was like, are you staying here fully? And I was like, oh, I can call my mom. I can leave. I'm so sorry. I was really embarrassed. And she was like, oh, I just need to know if you need a pillow and blankets.
Wow.
Because, you might get cold. And
they knew you were dealing with a lot in your life at that time. So they were being
right. Yeah. And I didn't really know them that well. So I was like, look, whatever you say, just let me stay here. And you seem nice. I know you're not going to scream at me like my family will. So I'm just going to stay here for a while. But I ended up falling in love with their whole family, and there were two younger brothers under Dylan. There was Dante, who's also an actor, who also ended up being on improv. All three of them were improv captains at one point, and so was I in our respective senior years or whatever at that high school. But so they're all comedians and actors and performers, and when
you were older than all of them.
Yeah, I'm the oldest one, and then Dylan is 2 years younger than me. Dante is a year younger than him, and I think Demetri
so he's 6 years younger than you.
Yeah, he's a lot younger. Yeah.
Okay. All right. Now I got where we are. Okay. Yes. So you're basically living there.
So here's Demetri's intro. Yeah.
Gotcha.
So I'm living there, and I'm bringing these hoodlum friends around, and their dad is comes up to me one day and is like, I don't want those guys to come back. And I'm like, that's totally fair. Because they were jumping in the pool with their clothes on, and they were dirty, and you know what I mean? They were being rowdy at the house, broke something. And he's like, those guys are not coming back. Charlie Belardinelli he was a special effects and visual effects artist in the entertainment industry for 30 years. He worked on all these films. You can look him up, but he's the father of the house. He's covered in tats. He's from Passaic, New Jersey. He's this super tough reformed addict. And I think he saw me and related to me and was he was like, this kid is in the same situation I was in. And he kind of helped sober me up. And his rule in the house was no one is drinking, no one is doing drugs if you live here. So it made me sober up to have a place to sleep. And then I meet Dante, I meet Demetri, and Demetri right away is the funniest person I have ever seen in my whole life. This kid is maybe 13, 14 when I meet him. He had long ass hair past his shoulders, and he had this high pitched raspy voice, and he was so funny, man. Every time he went somewhere, people were laughing. Adults were laughing. Whatever he was saying, just because he was so odd. And he's so smart, but he sees the world in such a weird way, man. Really, really weird. And he's expressive. He'll tell you what he's thinking. So he just has a natural timing to him. And I encouraged him to do comedy. I was like, have you ever thought about doing that? And he was like, yeah, I've always wanted to do it. He had the same dream I did, and I had not known that.
How long after knowing him did you ask him that question?
Maybe 6 months.
Okay.
But I had been thinking it the whole time.
Sure. And
then when I realized he really had not done it, was not going to do it, and had no plans to do it, because I'd never heard him talk about it, I thought maybe he was a comedian. And I know that sounds ridiculous for you to think of a 13 or 14-year-old kid, but he just had it. You know what I mean? People still, from our hometown, every time I'm up there, my girlfriend lives up there, and every time I'm in Santa Clarita for an event or something, I'll run into people, and they'll go, how's Demetri? He's so funny, man. He's the funniest guy. Oh, shit. He's the funniest guy. He's so funny. How's he doing? Everybody asks me for updates about him. But Demetri's so funny. He's pretty cryptic. He keeps to himself mostly, but He's hilarious. So I meet him and I ask him, have you done comedy after a couple months? And he's like, no, but I've always wanted to. And he's like, maybe one day when I'm like 18, I'll go, when I'm an adult, I'll go down there and do it in LA somewhere. And I was like, we should just go now, because I was already driving at that point. I had just started driving. And I was like, let's go down to LA. I'll take us down there. We can perform and we'll come right back. And I cut a deal with his parents. We cut a deal with his parents on a school night. As long as we were back by like 10:30 or 10 or something, he could do a show. So we drove down to these bars that we would call ahead of time, like Pig and Whistle on Hollywood Boulevard, or the Ha Ha Cafe on Lancashire. I think they moved recently, but that's like a historic place too. We'd go to places, and the deal we would cut with them would be that he could put X's on his hands, these giant X's, to signify that he was a minor. Obviously, they couldn't serve him alcohol. And he was allowed to go in, watch the show, perform, and as soon as the show was over, he was allowed to use the bathroom and leave. He wasn't allowed to stay in. There was going to be no chance they would tolerate him messing around, and that was fine because we didn't want to do that. We wanted to just do the jokes and go home. What
would he possibly do other than drink? Is that it? That they're afraid he'll get drinks?
I guess so. I think they were just
people to buy him drinks or something.
I think people were just suspicious. They're like, "Why are you bringing a 13-year-old into my bar?" Like they're looking at me and they're like, "Why are you bringing me a child? This androgynous little jelly bean of like a baby."
Only bad can come of it.
Yeah,
really,
like I'm serving alcohol here and people are cussing and smoking cigarettes and like, what are you doing bringing this kid here?
He doesn't belong there.
And we'd be like, trust me, he's hilarious. We'd be like, no, like, listen, you got to give him a shot. And they would let him, they want people up there or whatever, but I think it caught them off guard at first. But once people had seen him perform, they wanted him back. We used to do this club, Room 5, and every time we'd perform, the guy would call and leave a voicemail about Meech. He'd be like, you got to get that kid back. He's like, he loved us. He thought he was so funny. And I think I don't even know if Demetri fully understands his funniness, like just where it comes from. It's just kind of built into him.
So he's not even trying to be funny. He is sometimes, but he is sometimes, a little bit of both.
It seems like I compare him in my mind to someone like Gene Wilder, where it's like, even if he's bluffing and he's not committed to a bit and he's just saying like, if you think he's kidding, but he's being serious and saying like, I'm so fucking over this or something, people will just assume he's joking and laugh that he's committing so hard to pretending to be angry. Even if he really is angry, he's just like, he's like a character. He's such a, I don't know. He's such a presence, So honestly, all my brothers are that way.
I was gonna ask, is that the first time you guys did stand up together, or did stand up when you went to Hollywood that one time?
The first time we went to the Pig and Whistle on Hollywood Boulevard, and they had a comedy night in the back, and it was $2 to perform for 5 minutes, and there was like 15 people there, and they were all comedians except like 2 people working. So we went up right after this one guy who you could tell had been doing these bits. He was working on what I'd call like his tight 5 for probably like 20, 30 years. And he was still struggling. And, he was a nice guy. And then he went off and I went up and I did okay. I got a couple laughs and it was, there were some jokes that completely bombed because they were my first jokes.
Yeah, it's your first time.
But I'd say overall I was comfortable. I was like, wow, that was better than I thought. And then
and that was your very first time doing it?
Yeah, first show ever. And then Demetri went up and did great. He did like, I'd say better than me even. And we came off and we're leaving and we're like, that was really fun. Like, I can't believe we did that. I got such an adrenaline rush. And that guy from right before us came up to us and he was like on a bike with window cleaning stuff, like a squeegee and a Windex bottle, the comedian that had been working for a long time. And he was like, hey, you guys are good. And we were like, oh, thank you. That was our first time. And it like, I could tell it just like hurt him.
Oh no.
But he was nothing but encouraging. Like thinking back, he was just like, yeah, keep going. He's like, you're really good. And he like pointed to Demetri. He's like, you're good. Like keep going. Cause he could tell like this kid is so young and he had something, Demetri really inspired me to keep going. I always wanted to be a comedian, but there wasn't much support on that end from my original family. And honestly, or our other family at first. But I think once they saw us perform together, they were kind of moved to be supportive, and they have been very supportive ever since.
So how did things evolve from there after going to that first show with Demetri? Were you guys just starting to do comedy together? Were you both going to the clubs regularly?
We were going to the clubs regularly for a while. Like we were booking shows for a couple years just nonstop.
And you were in high school and he was like in middle school at this time, basically?
He was like in 9th grade, I want to say. By the time we were really hitting it regularly, Demetri was probably in like 9th grade and I was around college age.
Yeah.
And I was going to an acting school called Stella Adler Academy of Acting. Dylan also went there, and so did Dante.
You guys are all living in LA at this town in LA.
No, we're living in Santa Clarita. At this
all
point.
You guys are
we
still
lived
in
there for a long time, yeah, and commuted, and it was a pain in the ass.
I
we
bet.
also went to Second City, Demetri and Dylan and I, right down the street on Hollywood Boulevard for another 2 years and wrote a show there, America Made in China. That was really fun. But okay, so from the first show on, basically Demetri and I realized that when we would bicker in the car rides home from doing shows, that was funnier than the jokes we would write
of course.
and do solos. So we were like, we should just do this on stage. And so we started doing it, and right away it was like, it just clicked. It made so much sense. Because anytime I would blank, he was there to fill it in. And we had been doing that nonstop because we basically lived together and with the other brothers for years at this point. So I'm seeing him every day. We have a train of thought and a rhythm that's just so... First of all, it's so strange, because we're from such a strange place, and we have like a very weird style. And second of all, just because we're weird people in general, and we're just on a different wavelength. And not in like that we're better or anything, not by any means. A lot of times I find myself struggling to communicate freely with people that I'm having a great time and they think I'm just like off, but I'm like, I don't know how to say what I'm thinking. But Demetri and I get each other. We have like a weird understanding. Like I wouldn't say it's a psychic thing because that sounds...
You have a unique understanding.
Yeah, we just trust each other to the point that like, even if I have a great idea and I know I'm going with a bid and it totally shifts and pivots 180, I know to just go with that momentum right away because I trust him to make a decision, because I've seen him save bits in improv scenes in classes when he was 16 and the other people in the scenes are like in their late 20s, and he's coming in and saving the scene because he knows just what to say at the right time. He's just got like...
Yeah, I was going to say, is that something that built up over time? It sounds like it's something you guys that he always had, and maybe you guys always had.
I think Demetri,
for the most part.
I think like any performance oriented thing or any art, there are people that are more naturally gifted, and then there are people that sort of study it and have to continuously grind to kind of catch up, but they're there and they're doing it. You know what I mean? It's like when you see guys in the NBA, it's like there's LeBron and then there's like Matthew Dellavedova, who's like will play 3 or 4 years in the league because his body can't support, but he played so hard, he's like on the same level. He's starting on the same team with this guy LeBron, and they won a championship together.
Hey, Dellavedova's still in the league.
Yeah.
I think so.
I like Delly, yeah. But I would just also say that Demetri kind of shifted himself. He went from being a naturally talented kid that was just going off talent to really training super hard a few years ago now. He started taking acting classes and these lessons and going on auditions like full time, like it was a job, and he still does it. He gets up and he does it, and he books a lot, and he's constantly working on himself and like researching and reading and stuff, and that's why he's a LeBron. That's why I look up. Honestly, I've told him before when we work on stuff, I tell him when he books things, I say, you inspire me, dude. And I look up to him. I look up to my little brother. He is my hero. Honestly, they all are, all three of them. But, Demetri is my comedy partner, so it's a little different, I think.
That's special. That's cool. That's cool to hear.
Yeah.
For real. So it sounds like everyone kind of dove into the arts and into entertainment in some capacity. Yeah. No thoughts of doing anything else? No college? No other careers other than maybe jobs to try and survive, like kind of thing. But no real thoughts of other career paths outside of acting, outside of writing, outside of performing.
I'm
comedy.
only really good at a couple things, and they're all in the arts. So I'm like, I might as well just do what I want to do because I'm not great at anything else. But I think it also came from the fact that Charlie Belardinelli, the father, is an artist, and Christina, the mother, was an actress too, and she had an aunt that was an actress who was in like Gremlins and what else was she in? Back to the Future.
This makes sense,
right? Yeah. So it was kind of just like, and she went to Stella Adler, the school we all went to. So it was kind of like a family thing, which is funny because it's an offshoot of a family in their bloodline that is very like political and like highly scholarly and go to like nicer, not maybe Ivy League or like Ivy League level schools and stuff, and then we're like the artists branch of the family over here. She married another artist and had kids that are all artists and adopted a kid who's an artist. So,
but I think what carries over is, even if this part of the family or this generation is pursuing different things, is that the dedication and the passion for what it is that you're pursuing and the will to want to do cool things with your life and do great things and
just do what comes naturally to you. Do what you want, which is always cool. Which is the coolest thing. Like you said, cool things, doing the thing that you are meant to do that you feel is your higher purpose or whatever. Yeah. I was afraid to pursue it, I think, for a long time because comedy is such a daunting thing. It's such a cutthroat scene and it's so small and it's so humiliating when your art is to just go, here's what I think out loud into a microphone with my face attached to it, and people either get to boo or cheer. You know what I mean? So, but I love it. I have always wanted to do it. And even when I've bombed, I have been happy that I've gone up because I've been like, I learned something, I got better.
It requires bravery and vulnerability for sure.
To a degree, yeah.
Someone said that they prefer to bomb than to do meh, because at least if you bomb, you know what you worked on. You know for sure something doesn't work.
That's totally fair.
Whether you do meh, it's like, I don't know, should I do that again? Bombing, you get more clarity sometimes.
That's fair. I feel like for me, every time I go up, I've already convinced myself what I'm doing is funny. This is going to sound like a serial killer shit thing, but this is like a Mamba mentality Kobe thing for me.
Oh, sure. You have to have confidence.
I'm an LA guy and I grew up in the Kobe era, and I'm a big basketball guy, so I'm trying to apply that more. But I think it was, I'm always like at peace with what I've thought of. I'm like, even if this goes awry, I know that there's a nugget of like a theme in here or an idea of what I was expressing, and I know that it was worth putting up. So it doesn't matter what the reaction is. It's more about committing it and trying to execute it now.
Yeah, I think that's a healthy attitude to have. You should.
Yeah. Thank you.
Put that in a meme or something.
Thanks. Yeah, we should meme that. I don't even know what that means. I'm 30 years old.
You said that the scene can be cutthroat. In what regard do you find it to be?
When you go to shows that are just comedians, when you first start out, and they're like, you need to grind, you got to do the scene. And any comedian will tell you that doing the scene means like for years you go to the club circuit and you go really late at night. And if you just started, you end up going after everybody's already left or before everyone's in the room, or everyone leaves to take a smoking break when you're up because you're new, and you do your material and it's all comedians and nobody laughs because they're all reading their own jokes. They're not actually paying attention to it. But I don't do that. When I go to shows, I tried to be encouraging and I would watch everybody else and I'd have my shit together before I went up because I wanted to be part of a scene. But really what the LA comedy scene is a lot of people hoping somebody that will pick them out is in the audience. It's rough, man. It's rough. I salute anybody doing the scene right now. I have a friend, Easton Gage, who's a great comedian, and he is grinding. He's doing shows like, I want to say 5 days a week, honestly. He is going crazy right now. I just saw him do a set in Santa Clarita, and he was hilarious. But yeah, I hit a wall with that. We did that for a couple years, and then we were like, we should put our attentions into other things. And Demetri kind of went off and like really studied acting and started going on auditions full time, and I broke off and made a movie and started an LLC for film and bought like camera equipment and stuff. And then we met back up a couple years ago, maybe like 3-4 years ago. And we're like, we should take the comedy thing really seriously again. Like that was when I was happiest. And
this is
like,
you and
Demetri. Yeah. And he was like, yeah, dude, let's do it. I was considering moving to New York actually. And I had a friend, Ali Sohaili. He's a Juilliard grad. He's a great buddy of mine. We've worked on a couple things together. He needed a roommate. It was all working out. He's from LA. He's a big Laker guy too. He's like, you can move in with me. And I had always wanted to live there. And then I had this conversation with Demetri that was like, if I go, I'm probably going to do comedy over there, but I've always been so much funnier with you. And it's what I really want to do. So can we give this one last shot? And he was like, dude, I've been thinking so much about that. I've been wanting to do comedy more and more. It's so like fulfilling and like just different and hits me in a different way as an artist. And I'm like, let's do it. So we kind of rebooted it and started having this residency, this show that we put together, the Brothers Belardinelli show. And then we wrote these 2 pilots, and now we're halfway through working on 3 feature scripts. And
wow. Halfway through working on 3 features.
3 different feature scripts.
Why not work on one full one at a time?
I think the rotation of ideas is actually part of my rhythm. Is like if I have one thing, I'll go completely crazy thinking of all the possibilities. And if I start to get ahead of myself after 2 hours of writing it or editing it, I'll shove it aside and I can look at something that's a totally different direction, and that's comfortable to like run in.
Dude, I'm kind of the same way. That's why I work on a million projects. I feel like, I don't know. I think if you only have one major, it's too precious. There's too much focus. It's too much eggs in one basket.
You got to step away to come back, but that doesn't mean when you step away, you can't continue to be productive somewhere else.
Right.
That's the way I see it. Yeah.
You're like my spirit animal over there.
Especially this job. I'm working full time at WB right now and in the art department, and it's making me really value my time when I'm not there, because I'm there most of the time working. And when I'm not there, I got to go straight home and use my little bit of energy left to really hammer out.
Time is our most finite resource.
Yeah.
Finding out for sure.
Yeah. Dude. Yeah, so now Demetri and I are in a place of developing a lot of these projects, and it has stemmed all the way back from being comedy partners for like a decade, back to when each of us were little kids winning the class clown awards at each respective grade or whatever. And I remember at the time I thought they were so dumb, getting those little slips of paper, and I would just like throw them away. And now I'm like, man, like that was the roots of all of this whole. I didn't even realize that it was going to come full circle, and I was going to want those. I was going to want to be that,
Yeah.
I mean, I am that, but yeah.
Is it that you sort of look back on the class clown awards as like, wow, that now it all makes sense? Or is it like also that, oh, I should have saved that because that means a lot to me? Does it mean anything to you to win class clown awards?
Not the like paper of it, but I definitely think looking back, I'm like,
was it an award? Or did you feel like it was an award that you
at the time I remember in high school I wanted it, which is probably some like I needed some validation or whatever because of how old I was. But I remember as a little kid, I was like, I couldn't have cared less. I was like, whatever, like that didn't matter. You know what I mean? But then as I got older, I was like, oh, this is great. Everyone knows I'm funny. And then I kind of had to let go of that. Interestingly enough, going back to that grinding through the LA scene, that's kind of like a big ego death for a lot of comedians. You're the funniest guy in your hometown, or your high school or whatever at the time, and then you move to LA and you realize that it's filled with millions of other of the funniest guys of their hometown.
Yep.
And then everyone has similar trains of thought and has grown up with the same influences because it's a generational thing. And now you're competing with all these guys and you're trying to make friends, and one guy steals a joke, or this guy, gets a show that you were trying to get on before you or whatever, and you try not to be competitive, but you
see those things.
Yeah, it's inevitable. And certain guys get picked up, and when they do and they disappear and you see them on TV or whatever, like other guys become hateful toward them or whatever. And then there's weird like tensions and people that are
But it doesn't sound like you become hateful or anything like that.
No, I never did. I never wished anybody any grief. And I think if anybody can make a career out of what they love, that's the most beautiful thing. That's the dream. So I would never get mad at someone for that.
But you do admit that when you see someone achieving success that you might, that you prefer to get as well, there's a little bit of jealousy or something like that.
I don't really get jealous like that.
How would you describe it?
Which is weird. I just get excited because I think it means it's even more likely. I see
right.
I'm like,
if them, why not me?
Yeah. And I'm like, that person, like there's plenty of success. There's plenty of money to go around. You know what I mean? Like, and if anything, it's like, it's so great to think that someone that's in a scene that I am actively in, that was here hitting these same mics as me and talking to me, blew up and is now on SNL or is now on, this or that. And those things have happened. Those things have happened a lot. And I have good homies that are on those long full-time days when I'm doing stuff I don't want to do. I'm like, I'm in the right place. I got to trust the process. I've worked hard. I'm pitching these things. I'm writing these things. I believe in them. And it's beautiful, man. I wake up every day so grateful. I try to think about once a day about something like positive I can do to reaffirm like that I'm in a good place with the universe, and I just try to be grateful for my life, man. I have a great fucking
do
life.
One thing to reaffirm that
I'm in a good place with the universe. Just like I focus on making people laugh, or I'll focus on like complimenting people.
Right.
To
put out, just do one thing to put out some positive
one
energy
a day if I can. Yeah. And
I'm doing that shit all day.
Yeah.
I like to think so.
Good, dude. Yeah,
I like to think so.
I bet you do. Dude, this podcast is a great example.
For the most part.
The podcast is a great example, dude. Great
I appreciate that. For me, I'm not a stand-up comedian, but I've spent quite a bit of time in the scene, especially in the Valley, and going to a lot of the DIY shows and things like that. And I've seen a lot of like camaraderie and support, and maybe that's because I'm not like spending an insane amount of time in the clubs with higher level comedians, and I'm not there at the moment where it's announced so and so comedian made a deal, got a Netflix special, and seeing people's reactions when they don't. But do you feel camaraderie as well? I mean, it seems like you
absolutely. Yeah. Oh man. There's definitely a sense of camaraderie. There are moments, again, talking about the grateful thing, where like you're in a green room. I just did New York Comedy Fest like a couple months ago, and I love New York, and I got to be in a friend's show. Her name's Atsuko Katsuka. She does a show called Let's Go Atsuko. It is insanely smart and just so absurd and so funny. And I was on a show that she did out there, And there's sometimes where you're in a green room and like all kind of sets in right before a show where it's like you're nervous or whatever. And you look around at the other comedians and you get to hear them crack the jokes that no one else gets to hear. You get to be in the room with the funniest people in the building, just hanging out. They're not on stage. They're just having a beer or whatever.
I mean, that's what I love about going to shows.
I know,
just
yeah. You totally get it, bro. Yeah.
Just hanging out with comedians and like...
on the back wall or in the green room or wherever that you're just cracking jokes about everybody else. And you just learn so much about people in that way. You learn who comedians really are and if they're doing a character or if they're being themselves. And I feel like a lot of the greatest comedians I've known are the exact same on stage as they are off stage. Truly. Yeah. I'm not that way. I've seen people that are very much the opposite or very different from their real life, personality. And I ask them, and especially if they have like an eccentric on stage, character or personality, I'll ask like, where does that come from? And some people don't even know. They're like, I don't know. It's just fun for me. I don't know. That's just how it is. Yeah. I guess some things.
It's still them. If you're not,
it's
still a part of you, even if it's an alter ego, it's still.
Yeah. I know for me, like the characters that Demetri and I make when we do our live shows, we try to never do the same act twice. Like we may have some reoccurring bits or characters, but we try to never do the same show twice. So it'll never be a repeated thing. If you come see it, you'll never be bored because it'll be a new thing every time. And in that way, it's very performance arty. But the characters we play are very, very much based on our personality traits, but the situations they're in are always different. Like they'll have a different name and some crazy costume or whatever. But it's like, I'm dealing with depression because it's like a thing that we actually talk about in our everyday life. So we're like, we should just joke about this. So I'm the depression crab. And now like I'm this crab that everyone's laughing at how ridiculous the costume is. I look like a fucking idiot, but we're talking about this thing
serious
that is
topic,
based on us because it's something that I couldn't help but talk about into the microphone. Yeah. Because I think about it all the time or whatever.
Sure.
Yeah.
Yeah, it sounds like you like surprises and spontaneity and keeping people on their toes. I feel like I kind of probably know the answer to this question, but I kind of usually ask everyone like, what is like the long-term dreams, plans, goals? And I feel like I can almost answer for you because I know you're not going to be satisfied just doing one thing. So there's that. Yeah. And I know you're working on movies, so there's that. And I know you're working on comedy shows with your brother. So I have a feeling the answer is more than one thing, making movies, doing something with your brother, but I'll let you answer the long-term goals question.
Yeah, it's like, I would say the long-term goal is basically exactly what you said, is to work on anything I want. I really want to get into like a place where I can produce my own albums at home. I have a lot of
music. We didn't even get into music. You said you're...
Oh, yeah. I mean, like I scored the pilot and I score the short films we make and stuff too. But I have a lot of music equipment. I'm like my mom. I play guitar, bass, drums, piano. I sing.
Wow.
Stuff. But, oh man. I want to be able to like decide to produce something and either give money, be in a place where I can give a filmmaker money to make something. Or I want to be able to decide one day I want to direct something or edit something or write something. I want to have all the tools at my fingertips to be able to make whatever I want, whenever I want. That's kind of the goal. I want a home studio and all that stuff. I need to.
No, I know.
I need to do so much stuff.
Yeah, I know. We need 30 hours in a day, and we need more money, and we need more time and resources, and we need all of it. We need things.
I'm gonna get an EGOT. There. I'm calling it on this podcast. I'm gonna get an EGOT.
Well, what's that?
It's an Oscar, a Tony, a Grammy. I don't even know.
Are those the first letter of the?
Yeah, it's an acronym, but each letter is a different award. Yeah. I don't even know what the awards are, but I'm letting you know right now. I'm gonna get an EGOT in my career. Only I think 5 people have done it or something. It's a joke. I'm not,
Yeah, I was like, shit, is he serious? I mean, you never know.
Imagine? Yes, I'm going to get an EGOT, though, Adam.
Like Oprah got one or something?
I am going to get an EGOT. Here we go. So I'm calling it right now.
You never know. You never know, my friend.
Dude. I do know, though, because I'm going to get it. You'll see.
No,
I'm just kidding.
You never know.
Man, how crazy would that be?
It could happen.
Yeah.
Well, for real, I appreciate your time and dude, thank you for dropping by the studio. Why don't you tell people where they can find you, follow you, anything else you want to talk about or,
my
or working on?
Social security number is
just the last 4 digits.
Yeah, that's great. I just posted the last episode of a podcast that I have called 24 Hour Panic Attack. the premise of that, it's me and Demetri, my comedy partner who I talked about, and our friend Connor, who's also a DJ and a great comedian himself. And we stayed awake for 24 straight hours, and we talked the whole time, and we released it 1 hour at a time. And it was insane. We lost our minds. We went fully delirious. That's kind of what I'm plugging right now, because that's all that's really out currently. I'm about to drop like 5 things this year, but I don't think they'll be out by the time you can cut all this out.
It'll be late. Well, it'll be out later this year, or at some point.
Yeah, just there's 1,000 Victor Treviños on IMDb, so don't worry about that. But my handle is @RealVtron on Instagram, and what is my Twitter?
RealVtron. Did I get that right? I think so.
I think so. God, I don't even know. I'm so sorry. Oh yeah. My Twitter handle is @RealVtron, and my Instagram handle is also RealVtron.
Sweet. Well, I'm sure people can find you, follow you on those social medias, and look out for more projects, more content, more comedy, more everything.
Thank you for having me in your studio and in this lovely podcast, dude. It's been awesome.
Oh, thank you. I appreciate it. Talk soon. So there you have it. My conversation with Victor Treviño. That was a lot of fun. I enjoyed hearing all about Victor's unique journey. And all about Demetri as well. But I am glad that I did not grow up in the desert. Anyway, for everything about this show, of course, head to peoplewelovepodcast.com. And I think that's about all I got for today. I appreciate you guys listening. Thanks as always. Talk soon. Peace.